The White House team that President Biden was going to send to Detroit to help resolve the auto worker strike, well, they'll no longer be traveling to Michigan. A White House official tells NBC News that the Biden administration and the union agreed that it would be better to speak virtually by Zoom. The acting labor secretary and a senior White House advisor may still visit Detroit next week, but that's not confirmed. Nearly 13,000 workers walked off the job at 3 plants, one in Missouri, one in Ohio, and one in Michigan. That happened on Friday after their contracts expired. They're striking against Detroit's big 3 automakers, General Motors, Stellantis, and Ford. Joining us now, White House reporter for Politico and West Wing Playbook co-author, Lauren Egan. Lauren, so good to see you. Let's talk about this strike, about when the Biden administration is considering more forcefully stepping in. But let's also talk about the politics of this. This is a union that backed the president last time around. They have not offered an endorsement yet. And we know that Donald Trump is heading to Detroit next week to try to talk to some of these union workers to try to win some of their votes.
That's right. I think that Trump's decision to go there next week has put them in a bit of a tough spot. We've talked to some Democrats who have said, look, this has sort of boxed the president in. Now, any engagement that the White House makes, if they send someone to Detroit, it's just going to look like it's being done in response to the fact that Trump is going there. So behind the scenes and privately in the White House, folks are having discussions about, do we send someone high profile from the administration to the picket line? They have not made decisions on that yet. But I think this whole episode just underscores the difficult position that the president is in here, especially as labor leaders have criticized him for not being more forcefully supportive of the union earlier on throughout this whole process.
So, and certainly Michigan, we can't be overstated just how important Michigan is to the electoral map, particularly for a Democrat. It's hard to imagine the president being reelected if he can't win there. So we'll certainly be watching this in the days ahead. Lauren, you had a really good news story this week about how the Biden campaign is trying to set the record straight regarding Donald Trump's stance on abortion. Walk us through, first of all, what Trump's gyrations have been as he's tried to seemingly moderate where he stands on this, and what the White House is trying to do to highlight what he's actually done.
That's right. Trump, we know privately, Politico has reported, has expressed concerns to Republicans about the party's position on abortion. He clearly recognizes the vulnerability that abortion is for the Republican Party. And we saw in his interview with Meet the Press that aired on Sunday that he tried to moderate his position on it. He said that he wanted to find peace on the issue. He said he was going to bring both sides together. He criticized Ron DeSantis for the abortion ban that he signed into law in Florida. Obviously sort of ignoring the fact that he appointed the Supreme Court justices that helped overturn Roe v. Wade and got us to the position that we are in now when it comes to abortion rights. And the Biden administration really came out forcefully against this interview and against Trump's comments, trying to correct the record, trying to remind reporters, to remind voters that Trump appointed the Supreme Court justices that led to the overturn of Roe versus Wade. And I think their forceful response underscored a few things. One, that we're essentially in what feels like a general election in some sense, and that they really view abortion as incredibly critical to their success in the 2024 election. And even though Trump has a record to run on in the way that he did it in 2016, there is some concern that if he were to moderate on this, it would be an incredibly big issue for them.
Yeah, so it's a great point about it feels like the general election already. Trump's push for the union workers feels like a general election play. The White House highlighting the abortion record feels like a general election play. Lastly, and very briefly, Lauren, just talk to us about that idea of abortion. It's been such a defining issue for the last couple elections. White House feels like that's going to be the case next year as well.
Absolutely. I think what we saw just in the past few days showed that they saw the results from midterms. Abortion helped win some seats for Democrats, and that they view this as an incredibly important issue to President's success in his reelection. And
certainly polls suggest if even voters aren't too enthusiastic about President Biden, there are issues they care deeply about, and maybe that's what gets them to the polls. Terrific stuff. Really good story. Politico's Lauren Egan, thank you for joining us this morning. We'll talk to you again soon.